Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And we're going to delve back into Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This time we're going to look at Druid Circles.
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
And while you're down there, you can find the link to Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Get your own copy. That's an affiliate link to Amazon to help support the channel.
All right, so we're diving back into Xanathars, clearly. We're looking at Druids, subclasses, cool stuff.
Yeah, so this time was a little bit tricky, because as you guys know, if you've been following along, we're trying to look at what was done in Unearthed Arcana and what's been done here. And there was actually a revision to the Shepherd, so there was like two different versions to look at. And it was to make sure that we went back to the right one.
Dave did the homework this time, so all of it's going to be a surprise to me. So first and foremost, as we've done with, as all the other subclasses have had happen, is you get a bunch of tables to look at. So you get a treasured item, you get a guiding aspect, you get some kind of mentor knowledge, and these are things that, as all the other ones have, there's something that you can roll on, pick your choice of, or use them as inspiration to further develop your character.
Or completely ignore whatever you want. These are really similar and set up like the cleric domain, like the cleric ones, which makes sense because they're both kind of religious and divine characters. Treasured item is just something you hang on to. Guided aspect is a little bit different, but like, you know, this kind of replaces your temple in a way. For you, and it's just like, you know, something that drives you and your connection to nature is kind of like wrapped up in that guided aspect.
So we get into, you know, mentor. You got the ability to see what kind of mentor you had. Oh, were you trained by a Trent? Were you trained by a werebear? All kinds of fun stuff. Oh, you never actually physically saw your mentor. You're trained by dreams
or visions. It may or may not be real. Who knows? Like so they definitely offer up some interesting things, as well as one of them's like, hey, you and a bunch of people were trained by an old druid. Oh, and one of the other students murdered him, by the way. So there's definitely some cool things to built right into that. So with that, we get into the actual druid circles, and the first one is Circle of the Dreams.
Now, dreams, as you would expect, it's attachment to the Feywild and this dreamlike state. And second level, you get the Balm of the Summer Court. Essentially, you have a pool of dice that you can use to heal. Very similar to a Paladin's Lay on Hands abilities, except you get a d6 per Druid level as opposed to just a flat 5 that the Paladin gets.
Right, and it's nice because you get it at range. You know, it's a good range, 120 feet. You can hit someone from across the battlefield pretty easy. Bonus action, also nice, and a temporary hit point as well. So it wraps up really nice. It has been changed a little bit. It used to be that the recipient would get a speed boost of 5 feet per die spent that would last a minute. So it was significant. So they significantly reduced that effect. You know, I guess after some further protesting, I'm sure what happened was people wrote in and like, are you insane? This is just too good.
I gave it to the monk.
Yeah.
Who's like, wee!
The Tabaxi monk is now breaking the sound barrier.
So lots of craziness and fun there. 6th level, the Hearth of Moonlight and Shadow. You get a sphere that you can place whenever you're going to start a short or a long rest. It's 30 feet centered on the point of your choice, and you get a number of bonuses, stealth and perception for anyone in there. Any light from a torch or a campfire that happens to be inside is not visible outside of the sphere, and it lasts until you end your rest. You leave the circle. Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, you have concealment while you're in there. I don't know how I feel about this ability. The same time I saw it the first time, it's exactly the same, and I guess it's useful, but it's very uninteresting to me, and it's like it's very passive. So like you're going to use it as the druid, and it's going to be helpful for the party. But it's one of those effects you don't really feel. It's like insurance, right? Insurance is useless until you actually need it. And then you understand the value of it. And in this case, it's like, the encounter goes by or something.
You get it at 6th level. So I think it's not as useful as a Liamon's Tiny Hut. but at the same time, it's not costing a resource.
It's
Taking
very
up your 6th level ability, but it's not taking up a spell slot.
Yeah, and in my mind, I said, well, Lehman's Tiny Hut, pretty much many spellcasters can do that, so it's kind of similar. It just falls flat for me and is uninteresting. Is the biggest thing. It's probably useful. And it might get used a lot, especially if you're taking a lot of rests. But at the same time, it's just going to be like one of those non-frills. The Druid's never going to get credit for this awesome thing he's doing for the party all the time. And it's just it's boring but useful, I would say.
Yeah, I actually I'm not overly impressed with the Circle of Dreams, entire subclass. It's nice to have that pool of healing. It's nice to have that safety zone, but there's nothing that I felt about Circle of Dreams and be like, yeah, I want to play that.
Now, I do feel like that the Hidden Paths as a 10th level ability kind of makes up for the 6th level ability being almost like a ribbon ability, only slightly more useful.
Well, you get like a free teleport as a bonus action. You or a willing creature, you can be like, bam, you're over there now, or I'm over there now.
Yeah, well, the Hidden Paths, it's really useful. As a bonus action, you can teleport or use your action to teleport someone else, and it's 60 feet. It's a good range. It's a good distance. Tactically, there's a lot of ways you could probably use this. You can do it to one willing creature for 30 feet, 60 feet for yourself. You get a lot of movement out of this. This is going to make you pretty mobile. But that being said, you get it at 10th level. At that point, if you're really focused on your casting as a druid, you have an 18 or a 20 wisdom. So you're going to do this 4 or 5 times a day. So, you could literally use it up in one combat fairly easy. And you don't get it back to a long rest. This one got overhauled a little bit because you get a greater range with your teleport than you did before. It used to be just 30 feet. And not only that, you had to use your movement. The caveat was you got to use it more often because it had a cooldown of 1 to 4 rounds. So, depending on, how you look at it, I guess.
I think there's a number of situations both in and out of combat that it's going to become useful. But looking at it, having to wait till you get to 10th level, to me it doesn't seem like, oh man, this is it. This is the thing that's gonna make this thing shine. If you got that 18 wisdom, okay, you get it four times a day. Is it really going to be? It's not game breaking, but is it going to be character making?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I guess it'd be cool. Like, there's a ravine, you can get the whole party across. But then I was like, well, you're 10th level, so there's a lot of spells that would probably do that as well, and other abilities. So yeah, it is kind of going along with the idea that the Circle of Dreams conceptually is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's also a little lackluster.
What do you attach to it instead? Is what I think a lot of people would wind up asking. What's here? It's not too wimpy. It's just not impactful, and it's not making me desire to play it like a lot of other subclasses that we've seen.
Right. So when you add up all the parts, the sum is like, I'd rather play something else.
So 14th level, you get Walker in Dreams, and this is, the magic of the Feywild grants you the ability to travel mentally or physically through the Dreamlands. When you finish a short rest, you can use one of the following spells without expending spell slots. You get Dream, Scrying, or Teleportation Circle. The Teleportation Circle is special. It's not going to take you to another linked point, but to the last place that you finished a long rest at. So it's, as long as it's on the same plane, there is that stipulation. So it's incredibly useful for, traveling distances back. Again, very useful. But to me, it's like, well, this is a time saver after the adventure's over, not the charge forward.
There's a lot of that in here too. It's like the 6th level ability and the 14th level ability are like, I make the adventure, like the in between, the fun stuff happening better. But that's it. Like, there's nothing really exciting about that. This last ability is cool. It's powerful. It's good. Had we gotten some other abilities earlier on to go with it, I think it'd be a little more exciting.
Well, Dream and Scrying are both very cool spells. Scrying, definitely, can be useful for that divination character, and you could play this type of character as that forethought, type of person, but it's still like there's not enough meat on the bones here to really make this subclass stand out. You're going to choose, okay, well, do I take Circle of the Land, Circle of the Moon, Circle of Dreams, Circle of Shepherd? Well, is this enough to go away from land or go away from, moon?
Before I comment on that, I'll go back to the Walker in Dreams, and it's a completely new ability. Before it used to be when you would cast your dispel or when you would cast use your any kind of healing spells, you would cast dispel magic as well, and you could use that 3 times up to a long rest. And if you cast a spell like mass healing or something like that, where it healed multiple people at once, creatures at once, then you could do it to dispel one of them, or up to those 3 all at once, depending on how you used it. It was kind of thematic and cool. I think I definitely like the replacement better.
Yeah, I agree.
So my takeaway for the Circle of Dreams is you play a Circle of Dreams if you really just want to be a support character, because that's mainly what their abilities are kind of built around, supporting the party, and doing these unexciting things in between the adventures is kind of where we're at a little bit. In comparison to Land, which is your spell casting druid, or Moon, which is your shape shifting combat druid, and then we're going to see some different things as we go into Circle of the Shepherd.
All right, so Shepherd is the protector of the animals and fae that are unable to protect themselves, and you get this cute little picture of the druid playing with a couple wolf pups. Totally awesome. So we start off with Speech of the Woods. You get the ability to read, write, and speak Sylvan. You have the ability to understand and have animals understand you, which is cool. And it totally denotes, hey, animals are animals. They have their intelligence. You're not going to have deep intellectual conversations with the wolf and with the bear.
And also, they don't necessarily like you. Like they're like any other NPC. They can like, dislike, or be completely neutral towards you.
This ability doesn't grant you friendship with beasts, though you can combine this ability with gifts to curry favor with them as you would with any non-player character. It's literally word for word there.
Now, Speech of the Woods, same as the revision, but the revision added Sylvan. So this one has progressed from the original to the revision.
Well, they added Fae to give you a little bit more to it, which to me is like a slap into the face of the Circle of Dreams.
Because that was like their thing.
Because it's like, hey, you're attached to the Feywild. They don't get Sylvan.
What are you gonna do?
All right. So then we move into Spirit Totem. You can call forth nature spirits to influence the world around you. As a bonus action, you can magically summon an incorporeal spirit to any point you can see within 60 feet, and you have the ability to move it as a bonus action, and depending upon what type of spirit you summon, it's going to give you a series of different abilities. You've got Bear, which is going to give temporary hit points, advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. You've got the Hawk Spirit, which is going to give you advantage on wisdom perception rolls, as well as when a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use a reaction to get advantage on the attack roll. You've got the Unicorn Spirit, which is pretty awesome. Anytime you cast a healing spell at an ally within there, you've got the ability to regain hit points equal to the Druid level to each of your allies. So I think it's incredibly helpful to bring everybody up. So if you're playing that healing type character, or with a group that has access to healing, it's going to be a big changer on the battlefield.
Yeah, there's actually some other areas where that really comes into play as well, as we go into more of the Shepherd's abilities. Now, the overall Spirit Totem ability is the same. It's when we get to the individual creatures or spirits that we get changes. The Bear is the same as the revision. The Hawk adds gaining advantage on perception checks. that wasn't there before. And pre-Hawk was like Bonzo, because like you just got advantage. Everyone, you and your allies just got advantage when you made attacks in that sphere. Like, well, I think what they determined was, oh, there's no reason to use any of the other ones. Essentially, that's probably the feedback they got. And when we get to the unicorn actually, it's the same as the revision, but the first incarnation was a wolf, and it did something different. So they've kind of changed that up as well.
Cool. We get into 6th level. You've got Mighty Summoner, and I think we've seen this block used in other classes as well. Or was this just literally my remembrance from?
You might have remembered the other revisions, or there are other underneath Arcana in the revision.
All right. So this is, when you summon any beast or fae, they're better than what they were before. Creatures appear with more hit points. You get 2 extra hit points per hit die. Awesome. And the damage from the natural weapons is considered magical for the purposes of overcoming damage resistances and immunities.
That's all the same. That works great. It's a good ability. I like it. If you want to be the summoner, this is going to help you do it. The fact that their attacks are considered magical, awesome. That means they're always going to always have at least have the chance of being useful.
I like it. I think Mighty Summoner is going to wind up appearing in other places as well as we get more summoning type casters, because it's literally just titled that. So I think it's going to appear again later. On 10th level, you get Guardian Spirit. Your spirit totem safeguards beasts and fae that you call forth with your magic. When a beast or fae that you summon is created with a spell, ends your turn in the spirit totem aura, that creature regains a number of hit points equal to half your druid level. So you put out your totem, you summon your creatures. As long as they stay within that totem, they're going to keep healing.
And that's what I was talking about with the unicorn spirit. Like, if you have them fighting under the unicorn spirit, they're getting a lot of hit points back. Have the potential of getting a lot of hit points back every round, so that they're going to have staying power.
And that's exactly what you're going to need, because the summoning abilities of 5th edition are lackluster in comparison to other editions.
Right, that you're getting much weaker monsters. But when you even get this ability, you get it at 10th level, right? So that means they're getting a minimum of 5 hit points back a round, which is not bad.
No, that's actually good.
And then if they're fighting within that unicorn sphere, and you're healing other people each round, and that might actually be part of your strategy, is to constantly be supporting and healing, then that means they're all also getting back, they could be getting back 15 hit points around.
You could literally be using your animals as the attack. You could be casting a Thorn Whip, and then you use your spell slots for Healing Word just to ping somebody, and everybody goes up.
So there's definitely some cool combinations that can be pulled off with that. I like the ability.
Yeah, I was already plotting and scheming as I'm reading it,
and that is also the same.
Well, awesome. So 14th level, you get Faithful Summons. The nature spirits you commune with protect you when you are most defenseless. I thought this one was amazing. If you get dropped to 0 or you become incapacitated, you get a free 9th level spell slot to summon Nature's Ally. You get 4 beasts of your choice that are challenge rating 2 or lower. The conjured beasts appear within 20 feet of you, and if you're literally unable to speak, they automatically defend you and attack your enemies. And if you've already got these other things in motion, then hey, great. They're gonna keep healing even though you're down.
Well, when you're incapacitated, I don't know if your spirit thing is going to still be up. It seems like one of those things that probably...
Okay, the spirit persists for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. All right, so they're not going to automatically get the healing if you're down, but if you get tied up...
If you do get tied up, or if you're incapacitated in some other... Well, it does say incapacitated,
yeah,
so that kind of is that. But, they still get the benefits of being summoned creatures for you, I would say. So they're going to get the bonus hit points. They're, so they're going to be tougher. It's a 9th level slot, and it's the same as the other ability. And one of the things that it just occurred to me is because it's a ninth level slot, they're not going to be easily dispelled.
Yes.
So they're also much harder to dispel, and I think that was intentional in the wording, and that might be why, to make sure they stay there and fight for you. And and the fact that after you pop back up for an hour, you have use of these. They're probably going to be bears or something, I imagine. And so that being said, though, later when you do use those abilities again, it is possible that they will then benefit from it. Or if you pop back up.
Looking at the list on the next page, I might choose rhinoceroses.
You could choose rhinoceroses. Or maybe perhaps a hippopotamus if you wanted one for Christmas, because it's that time of year.
It is that time of the year.
So, with that wraps up the circle of dreams and the circle of shepherd. And then there's a pretty lengthy section on
you get
learning beast shapes.
Almost 2.5 pages of charts of animals with their CR, whether they have flying or swimming, based entirely on the terrain choices. And it's to give you an idea that, all right, every druid tends to have an area that they specialize in or that they came from. So these are the kind of creatures that you might have seen during your training, during your travels, so that you have a start of, well, what can I change into once you actually get the wild shape feature?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of guide for the GM as well as the player, so I think that's pretty useful. So I guess now it's time to get into that part that we do at the end of these, right?
And that's to talk about how you would use these things as villainous options.
Well, I feel like the Circle of Dreams is probably like the easy. Well, actually, they both kind of like are working the same way. But Circle of Dreams, I would use that as a protector, and maybe maybe a vengeful character or NPC when it comes to the Fae, where if the players have done something to offend the Fae or harm Fae.
You could certainly use this for someone who has had misdealings with the Fae, or you could just have this as someone who that's their shtick, but it's not really attached to the misgivings of the party. You've got these awesome abilities that are supports, but all right, what happens if you've got this ambush that's set up? Well, everyone in that circle is totally in concealment, and the party's walking down a trail, and before you know it, the bad guy adventuring party steps out of one of these circles, and they're right there in your face, and it's an ambush. Now, you can use this kind of character as a support. It's going to be very, very useful to be able to move about and spy. So it's going to get information because it still has the ability to use its normal wild shape. But these other abilities are going to allow the bad guys to glean information. And then once you actually get into combat, teleporting around is going to make combat a little bit more interesting.
And not only that, too, that will definitely do that. Great support character. And if you kind of like twist dreams a little bit, and instead of dreams, say nightmares, so you could definitely work with it that way. I also see like this is also a good like evil advisor, possibly with their own agenda. Maybe they actually serve one of the either the summer or winter courts from the Feywild. So you could do something with Seelie and Unseelie. They could be agents.
You could totally twist that, from the summer court to the winter court, as you say, and can we change the balm of the summer court to the bane of the winter court, and as opposed to healing, can they touch a character and do cold damage? Give it a saving throw for half damage, Constitution because it's cold. If you really want it to go bad, could it be necrotic? You can do a number of different things where you're just twisting the things that are there, just to have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, you could definitely do something like that. I feel like it would work either way. I mean, the name is the name. What court they serve doesn't matter, and who knows how they came about their servitude anyway.
That's true.
Circle Shepherd. This one's really.
I want one more thing. With the Walker in Dreams for the Circle of Dreams, they could literally be scrying on the party on a regular basis, gleaning whatever information they need to have.
Well, yeah, that's why I think they also make a great advisor, because they can advise like
Absolutely.
nobody's business. Circle of Shepherds, easiest one of all. Essentially, these guys these could be basically be your Greenpeace, your eco terrorists. Yeah, these guys, like, they believe their cause is just. So these guys are the easiest, like we said, because they can just be fighting off the encroachment of civilization, and if the players are attached to a city or town, they might defend against that. What you might encounter is creatures attacking from the wilderness, summoned animals that are acting in a strange way because there's cohesion to how they're doing things. Maybe Fae are doing things in the town. If you're like deforesting an area, or if an area is being deforested for crops or whatever, maybe it could start off easy with like the things like their axes and stuff are disappearing, and subtle sabotage that can slowly but surely increase over time. And also I could definitely see using maybe an NPC or monster race as the Shepherd of Circles instead of using one of the standard races, such as one of the Fae themselves.
So I would take this, similar to what you're talking about, but I would twist it. If I'm going to have this be the villain, then they're literally the enemy of civilization. They want everything to be coexisting with nature. They don't want towns and cities and this. They want them all leveled. They want them, let's just live in nature, and we're not going to build buildings. We're just going to exist. And if you can't live with that lifestyle, then clearly you're a part of the cycle. You're not a part of the cycle as I see it, and you need to be removed.
That definitely works. Also, they might be the protector or defender of a sacred animal or creature, in this enchanted forest, and maybe it's been hunted and killed, and now he's on a mission of vengeance. He doesn't care about anything now but making the civilized folks pay for their crimes, and he's pretty indiscriminate about who pays. He wants to just wipe out whatever's there, like you said. But this is more specific, and maybe there is no way to make amends with this guy because the damage has been done.
He no longer has a job, so he's just gonna, as you said, kill indiscriminately.
Yeah, maybe he loses it, he goes bonkers, whatever. But yeah, there's only one thing you can do with this guy now.
So there's some options of how to use these guys and gals as villains in the game.
Absolutely. So the question is, guys, how are you using the new Druid circles in your game? We have a place where you can let us know all about it, and that is in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.